Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday night webinar. I'm excited to introduce this evening's speaker, Anthony Profeta. Anthony is a former medical student turned internationally renowned and professionally certified meditation teacher, mindfulness expert, and sound therapy specialist. His knowledge stems from over 2 decades of intensive study in monasteries and spiritual centers of the US, Nepal, Italy, and India. Anthony considers himself very blessed to have studied under the direct guidance of Jack Kornfield, Sharon Salzberg, and the Dalai Lama. Anthony is based in Florida, but teaches classes, workshops, and leads meditation and spiritual retreats around the world. He is and has been an avid student of the Edgar Cayce material since the age of 16 and became a regular presenter at the A.R.E. since 2018. We are very lucky to have him here with us this evening. And Anthony, I'm going to pass this over to you. After we're done, we'll take questions and answers and have a good time. See you
Sounds
on the
good.
flip side.
Thank you so much, Karen. Let me just say, you said that you're the lucky for having me. I'm very lucky to be a part of this organization because the Cayce material has held a very near and dear place in my heart. And so I'm very happy and honored whenever I get to collaborate with you and do anything with the A.R.E. So thank you all for having me tonight. And thank you to all of you who are tuning in to be here for tonight's talk on healing through energy and vibration. And I should say that my background, as Kara did point out, did start in traditional medicine. So that's actually how I thought I would be helping people heal in this world. But I moved into a much more holistic sort of approach with meditation, mindfulness, sound therapy, vibrational therapy, and all of these sort of other modalities that, what some traditional Western medicine people might look at as alternate therapies. But I should honestly say that it was probably the Cayce material that truly began to pique and spark my interest in this stuff. I have to credit the Edgar Cayce, recordings and, the records of all his documented readings as really a huge foundation upon which my spiritual growth and development and journey does rest. If I'm sure many of you tuning in are very familiar with Mr. Cayce's work, but if you're not, he is the most widely recorded psychic of all time. His readings amassed are, I think, over 14,000 recorded readings. However, nearly 70%, I think it's 68%, don't hold me to that exact number, but I think it's 68% of them were actually readings on like health and wellness and physical ailments and illnesses and diseases. And the rest go into other things like past lives and, not only past lives, but some things about like the Bible and, spiritual cultures and traditions. But nearly 70% of them did have to do with health and healing. And so much of the work that these readings present have to do with the fact of healing coming through not only energy practices and modalities, but vibration and things such as chanting and meditation and sound therapy and all of this sort of stuff that we'll be discussing and talking about today. In fact, Edgar is considered the father of holistic medicine in many traditions and communities around the world. So he is credited with being the father of holistic health and holistic medicine. And it's really amazing what he was able to bring to our awareness and bring to our insight through his hypnosis and his hypnotic states. The information that was channeled through him was really amazing because this man was in the Bible Belt, Kentucky and living in Virginia, but raised in the Bible Belt. And all of this Eastern, what many people would call Eastern knowledge, about Kundalini energy and chakras and all this metaphysical stuff that is many people are well versed in today. They were not well versed in the early, 1900s of Kentucky. And he didn't have a Google and he didn't have, a Barnes and Noble or any bookstore at the time to go research this stuff, but yet it's coming through him. And so, this is really a real honor for me to talk about this today, healing through vibration and energy, because I believe we're also now at a precipice of really understanding the body in a different way. from my early training in medicine, and many doctors still till today look at the body as like this mechanical organism, this mechanical thing. A lot of science is still based on Newtonian understanding of the world. However, that has changed drastically with the understanding of quantum mechanics and quantum physics and all of those sort of things. But the body was, early in human history, the mind body connection and the mind body spirit connection was intimately recognized. They were more in tune with that. And then somewhere along the way, we just looked at the body more as a physical sort of organism. And that sort of allowed us to lose touch, or maybe even sort of the knowledge of the mind and the knowledge of emotions and the knowledge of the spiritual component of ourselves was sort of like put on the back burner, or even in many cases lost. And it's like now there's a resurgence and all of this stuff again. And so once again, I thank you all for tuning in and joining in on this talk, because it's really one that I'm passionate about, because it sort of bridges two worlds. It bridges the science and the spirituality. And I'm not one of those people who think that, science and spirituality are like butting heads, like they don't see eye to eye, like they can't support each other. I firmly believe that science and spirituality completely support each other. And so that's a little bit of what we're going to be talking about today. But if we look back at ancient traditions, so many of them, the saints, the sages, the mystics, the prophets, the shamans, the holy men and the holy women of every tradition, they all came through to what you could say is the same discovery. And that discovery is that we are more than our body. We're not just this physical flesh and blood thing of matter that, so many of us identify with. And depending on the culture, depending on the tradition, they labeled it different things. Some called it an Atman, a Jiva, a soul, a spirit, the true self, the higher self, the inner self, the divine spark or divine light. Some called it a Buddha nature. And what they were referring to by all of these labels really is the part of you that is not touched by death, the part of you that is timeless and eternal, the part of you that is what you really are, that the part of you that is your true identity. And, while some people say that, well, okay, I understand what you're talking about, but from a spiritual mindset, there isn't any proof of the soul, or there isn't any proof of any spiritual thing. I ask you to really consider the following if you do have a scientific mindset, because like I said, I don't believe the two spirituality side and the scientific side are at odds. It's just that our ancient ancestors, they didn't have the specialized areas of study, such as like, quantum physics and chemistry and biology and biomechanics and all these specialized areas that we have today that describe the world and the universe around us in their own sort of terminology and language. So they didn't have the terms that many communities use today. They didn't have the words in their language that we're using today. But if you begin to look at both sides, you begin to see that they do describe each other or the world around them in very similar ways. And our ancient ancestors just used their words and their terms in order to describe the world around. So they describe the world as being made up of something that they often referred to as spirit. Even the Edgar Cayce readings refer to, there's one spirit or one force or one energy from which everything came. And the ancient ancestors sort of looked at the world around them in that way, that there was something known as spirit that permeated everything. And the spirit had sort of qualities to it. The spirit was invisible. The spirit was everlasting. It was eternal. It has no beginning. It has no end. It is everywhere. Even the Native American traditions of the Americas and indigenous tribes, they would often say that there's a spirit in the rocks and the trees and the forests and the oceans and the sun, the moon, the stars. And so all of those ancient traditions, when they were referring to spirit, they were referring to the true reality of the world, the true reality of life, that physical was not real reality, but it was just part of an essence that was deeper than that. Edgar Cayce said that spirit is actually the life of everything. Mind is the builder, and the physical is literally the result of that. And that's a very well-known common phrase from the Cayce readings, and how he termed or distinguished the three dimensions of life, which we'll sort of get to in a moment. But, looking at the world in that way, as spirit is undying, it's eternal, has no beginning, has no end, it's invisible, it's really no different than the way science speaks of the world around them, just using different terms. So again, I don't think science and spirituality are at odds. I think they're at, see eye to eye, but they're using different language, which gets people sort of, I guess you could say, confused. But so many of the scientists of our day and our ages, great minds, great geniuses, they saw the connection between science and spirituality. So people such as like Carl Sagan, who was a great astrophysicist and cosmologist and author, he wrote that the notion that science and spirituality are somehow mutually exclusive to each other does a disservice to both of them. That science is not only compatible with spirituality, but is a profound source of spirituality. And there are so many others that saw the connection between the two. So Louis Pasteur, who was a biologist and a microbiologist, he said, the more I study nature and look into nature and understanding science, the nearer it brings me to God. And so there's so much that can be said about that. And even the great mind Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein, they saw a union between the two. So Nikola Tesla, who is a very brilliant genius man, said that, if you want to understand this universe, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And I expand a little bit on his statement by saying, if you also want to understand yourselves, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And why that's important is because literally when we get down to the language that people use, science says that the world of form, the world of matter, is not true reality. They say that all matter is energy. They say that the entire universe is nothing but energy. And the amount of energy in this universe is unchanging. It can't be created. It can't be destroyed. This is the number one law of energetics, that energy can't be created, can't be destroyed. All it can simply do is transition from one state to another. And so spiritual traditions say that the universe is spirit. Science says that this universe is energy. Spiritual traditions say the universe is not only spirit, but the spirit is eternal and undying. Spirit is everywhere. Spirit is reality. Science says that energy is the universe. Energy is an eternal, everlasting, and undying because it can't be created, can't be destroyed. Energy is everywhere present through the universe, giving form to all matter, and energy is the true reality of things. And therefore, what I'm sharing, or what I'm trying to help point the way to, is that in today's terms, in today's terminology, in today's language, I firmly believe that energy is nothing more than a modernized term for what our ancient traditions and our ancient ancestors called spirit. And so when spirit traditions say you're a spiritual being, it's no different than the scientists today saying that you're an energetic being. And so the law of conservation of energy literally does support and uphold, the idea of an eternal soul, an eternal essence, because spiritual traditions say that you are eternal, you are everlasting, you are undying, unending, you are without beginning or end. And that's exactly what the law of energetics says when it says that energy can't be created, can't be destroyed. All it can do is transition from one state to another. That means the energy which is inhabiting your body, your physical form, wasn't created at your birth. It transitioned from somewhere. And when the body gets old and worn out, that energy isn't destroyed. It just transitions back somewhere else. And so one fundamental characteristic of energy is that energy is a vibration. And now I'm going to be going back and forth between, you seeing me, because I do like, I don't like just showing slides and talking over them where you're just looking at like a PowerPoint presentation. I like the interaction of, having a teacher and then slides as well. But I am going to share a couple of slides with you now. And let me just get to that. But in terms of, there we go. But Edgar Cayce, in his work and his readings, said that life or God, in its essence, is vibration. He actually said spirit is vibration, spirit is motion. And he explained in many readings, thousands of his readings, that health and illness of our body is due to the vibrational rate of the body. either being out of tune, out of alignment, imbalanced, or what he often called disease, DIS dash EASE. So like out of attunement, out of alignment. And from Cayce's perspective, the body is a holistic organism, and his idea of holistic health was that here in this three-dimensional world, the body is composed of three elements. It's composed of the body, the mind, and the soul. And a whole, holy, or healthy person is one who has all of those three elements of themselves in balance, in alignment. They're not out of balance in any side. So they're not just too focused on the physical body, or they're not too focused on just the mind itself, or just totally immersed in spiritual practices that they're forgetting about taking care of the body or the mind. It's someone who actually has those three elements in perfect balance and alignment. And what's very interesting is that the root word for holy, whole, and healthy is the very same root word. In fact, it's an Old English word, and whole, HOLE, does mean healthy or sound. And the Old English word hal, HA with a line over it, L, means healthy. And then the Old English word halig, HALIG, means holy. So holy literally has the root word of healthy or whole within it. And so, and even the German, if you go from Old English to German, which is heilig, like HEILIG, that means blessed or holy, and also means whole. And so a whole person, a healthy person, is no different than a holy person. And in terms of the Cayce tradition, the unity or the union of body, mind, and soul would bring someone into a healthy, whole, or holy disposition. In fact, he says that the physical body is the channel through which the mental, the physical, and the spiritual elements of the entity must manifest. And that when all of them are in normal relation to each other, that, when he says all of them, he means the mental, the physical, and the spiritual are all in relation to each other, that the body is made or brought to a state of oneness and pure alignment. And so this is something to really think about and, be aware of when we do talk about, and as we move through healing through energy and vibration, because he would say that if one of these elements isn't taken care of, and there's many ways you can bring these elements into alignment and balance as we go through, you'll learn many of them. But if any of those elements aren't in alignment and balance, then the body becomes diseased or unhealthy. And, the system of medicine, which many Western medicine doctors, physicians, and nurses and practitioners, they don't really bring the soul component into health and healness and wellness. They bring the body and mind. That we're relearning this body-mind connection and how the mind and thoughts can influence the body, and they know this very well. But they're still lacking in the understanding of the soul. And a system of medicine which denies or ignores the spiritual existence, and I believe is truly incomplete, because it leaves out what I believe is the most fundamental quality of the human existence, and that's the spiritual dimension. In fact, as I said earlier with that quote from Cayce, that, spirit is the life, mind the builder, physical the result. Even from the Cayce perspective, the soul, while, I said that they all need to be balanced, is the one that we need to also be aware of and not just leave out, because the soul, according to him, is the life of everything else. It's through the mind that this spiritual energy becomes filtered, and then through that, the physical becomes a result of that. And so this is really the foundation of vibrational therapy, is bringing the wholeness of the body, or this three components of the body, into alignment and balance. And so that's just something to definitely keep yourself aware of in regards to the Cayce perspective and teachings on well-being and health and healing, is that we really need to think of those three elements and those three qualities. And while I was living in India for a while, I did go to live as a monk in monasteries of India and Nepal. I did have some interaction with Tibetan medicine because I was living in a Tibetan monastery for a bit. And so I had access to some teachings and some trainings in Tibetan medicine and Eastern medicine. And something that I find very interesting is that they do think very much in terms of sort of Cayce material, in the sense that even Edgar Cayce said that, thoughts um, can influence the manifestations of illnesses and diseases in our body. And from an Eastern perspective, something about Eastern medicine that's different than Western medicine is they're not just focused on the physical or symptoms. And that's something that I think, Western medicine sort of focuses too much on, is just the symptom, just the alleviation of symptoms. Uh, Eastern medicine looks at it in a very different way. They feel that the symptom is a manifestation of something deeper, which they often believe comes from the mind itself, an imbalance in the mind, an imbalance of thinking, which Western medicine does know. Also, before I go where I'm going, just as a side caveat, Western medicine does know that from their own studies by the American Medical Association and universities such as Harvard and Duke, that nearly 90% of all illness and disease and all doctor visits worldwide is stress related. So, from a physical point of view of Western medicine, nearly 90% of all doctor visits and hospital visits worldwide is due to stress. And so, most Western medicine practices are not helping the person literally get to that underlying root cause. They're just doing things to get rid of the symptom, whether it be through surgery or prescription medications and things like that, which sometimes the prescription medications have even worse side effects than what the person is going in for. And so, you need to also bring that into, your consciousness and your awareness, because from the Cayce perspective, the body does know how to heal itself given the right applications of certain things and doing things that can change its vibrational rate. The body can really become better aligned and brought into a sense of well-being, which is what Eastern traditions teach as well. They believe that our organ systems of our body, let's say the heart and the kidneys and the lungs, that they're all sort of like encoded in the DNA to vibrate at a specific frequency or rate. And so heart cells in the DNA, there's some code that tell it to all vibrate at this frequency so that all those cells become heart cells. And they say that, the liver cells, they're vibrating or encoded with a different frequency so that when they vibrate and resonate, they all grow into liver cells. And that's why liver cells don't become heart cells and so on. And if any illness or disease, or if the vibrational rate of the organ system gets thrown out of balance, I should say that's when the illness and diseases arise. But if we can begin to bring alignment and bring the vibrational rate of those organ systems back to its resonant vibration, we can restore health, wholeness to these systems and restore the balance that, and sort of like reattune them in a way. And that's also a lot of what the Cayce material says and shares as it goes along. Rudolf Steiner, the great German philosopher, he said that illness and disease, he likened illness and disease to a piano being out of tune. And that's literally also what Eastern medicine and Cayce material basically says, is that when we are diseased or when we have an illness, we just sort of become out of tune in areas of our life and areas of our body or being. And so I'm just going to now go back to a couple of slides for you. And let me just share my screen again. And so when an imbalance occurs, you get disease. And that's the way Cayce would often reference illness or disease, as dis-ease. So imbalances, diseases, illnesses can be healed by rebalancing the body's subtle energies, by using certain techniques and rebalancing the body or an organ system with the right frequencies. We literally get healing. And this is the foundation of vibrational medicine. So vibrational medicine is using energies to affect an energy to bring it back into a state of balance. And so thinking back to where I was saying before, science calls us an energy, that we're nothing more than an energetic vibration. In fact, that is all matter. In fact, Albert Einstein said that we often think that matter and energy are two different things, but they're really just manifestations of the exact same thing, which he says is a concept sort of illogical to the mind. But his E=mc² formula literally shows the connection between energy and matter or mass, because E, which equals energy, is equal to mass and how fast it's traveling in terms of the speed of light. Now, when we talk, there's two terms that I do want to just talk about for a minute. One is vibration, and vibration just means something is moving. Now, Cayce said that life is vibration. He said it's spirit in motion, and he said that all matter is a form of vibration. And so vibration just means that something is moving. And we all know, think back to early, maybe, I don't know, elementary school biology or chemistry, where we learn that we're just atoms, with the electrons spinning around the protons and neutrons. And that's what the building blocks of matter are. And so if you look at us under an electron microscope, we literally look like this vibrating mass of electrons and energy. And we do know there's smaller particles today, like quarks and neutrinos and all those sort of things. But as you go deeper and deeper and deeper into the atom, what you discover is that it's really just pure energy. In one journal I read, they likened it to like little tornadoes, spiraling tornadoes of just pure energy in the smallest little particle that they can get into. And that's literally what we are. We're an energy. And energy can be affected by other energies. And so ways to raise our vibration, ways to raise our consciousness, and ways to bring healing to yourself, there's many ways that one can do that. So from a holistic perspective, meditation can bring one into a state of healing. Yoga, breathing exercises can bring one into a state of healing. Prayer, Edgar Cayce said, could also help to attune and align you into a greater sense of well-being. Music, singing, mantras, chanting, the Edgar Cayce A.R.E. Om chant, which wasn't his. He brought it forth in a reading, but he said it was one of the earliest healing chants that was used in the temples of ancient Egypt. And we'll get into all of these more as we go along. But even affirmations, thoughts, your mindset, visualizations, because thoughts are energy, and they all have the ability to affect the energy of your physical and your mental body. Diet, exercise, the sun. Edgar Cayce said that 3 above ground vegetables should be eaten in correlation to every 1 below ground vegetable. And we'll get into that in a moment too. But even being out in nature, colors, color therapy, the color of your clothing, gems, crystals, and incense can all help to bring new vibrations and energies into your life, helping to rebalance those 3 areas that we spoke of before: your body, your mind, and your soul. So going through each one now a little bit deeper: meditation, yoga, breathing exercises, prayer. Edgar Cayce said meditation is attuning the mental and the physical body to its spiritual source. Now, those numbers you see in parentheses are the readings from the Edgar Cayce material that I'm referencing. And the readings were, they were coded in such a way so that a number represented the client and how many readings they had, so that everybody's identity was kept private and safe. But he literally said that through meditation, we literally begin to attune the physical and mental body to its spiritual source. So remember those 3 areas of ourself: the physical, mental, and spiritual. So meditation begins to bring those 3 into balance and alignment. He says also meditation is a practice in which one is able to raise within them spiritualized vibrations. So changes naturally take place in meditation when there is the arousing from within to a higher ideal. And that's something that Cayce always was big upon, that you're not just supposed to sit there like with no purpose, with no intention. That meditation, when you go into it, now he had a very specific way one should enter meditation and actually begin to change the environment around them and their body through ways of whatever felt comfortable to the practitioner. So some people might enjoy incense. Some people might enjoy washing their body first. So he said, anything that you do or that you feel is helpful to purifying yourself, purifying your body, purifying your surrounding in order to get into your meditative state should be undertaken. He also talked about doing alternate nostril breaths and chanting to help you raise the vibrations of the body to bring you into greater attunement, alignment, and balance. And again, those numbers and quotes are just referencing the reading. So I speak here about alternate nostril breathing. And Cayce very often recommended that, especially prior to meditation, in helping to raise the vibration of the body through the energy of breath itself. So breath will take in certain energies. In terms of Eastern traditions, they believe that through the breath, we bring in prana, chi, ki, or life force, more life force into the body. But in many of the Western traditions, breath was equal to spirit. So like in the Bible, it says that God breathed the breath of life into us, and man and woman, of course, became a full living being. And so in many traditions, the breath is equal to spirit, soul, energy, life force energy, and it's very much well needed. I mean, we could go days without water, we could go, days without food, but we can't go, more than a few minutes without the breath. If we did, they'd find us dead on the floor. So breath is an important part of life. And in the Cayce material, alternate nostril breathing, he would say, breathe, close your right nostril, breathe in 3 times, exhaling through the mouth, then close your left nostril, breathing in deeply, and then closing the left nostril, breathing out through the right 3 times. And that would help to bring balance and alignment to the body. He also said that prayer was very powerful in bringing alignment and balance and healing to the body, because he said that prayer was the effort of the physical consciousness to become attuned to the consciousness of the creator. So it was like an actual effort in directing the thought. And the thought is an energy. Your thoughts are things, he often referred to. Thoughts are things, thoughts are energies. And so when we would, through effort, focus our thoughts through prayer on a higher ideal, whether it be, union with God, knowing God, all of those things, that the literal effort of the prayer could help to change our physical vibration. And as I said earlier too, he referenced that, mind is the builder, physical is the result. So what the mind focuses on is what it begins to manifest. And so changing your mind and your mindset was also a very powerful thing that can help change your vibration. Music, singing, mantras, and chanting are all things that Cayce referred to as ways to help align, heal, and change your energy's vibrational rate through outside vibrations. He literally said that music is the beauty of the spirit and an expression of the soul itself. He also said that every soul should learn music. In some studies, he referenced that string instruments would literally have a soothing influence on the nervous system, bringing you into greater alignment and balance. So these outside instruments of harps, of lyres, all these sort of things would also help to change your vibrational rate. So energies affect energies, and these energies of sound waves can affect the body in many powerful ways. And there's a whole resurgence of this today with sound meditations and sound baths, in which people use singing bowls and tuning forks and harps and drums and didgeridoos. And didgeridoos have been used for like 10,000 years in Australia, and to change the consciousness and to raise the vibrational rate and restore healing to bodies and minds. So this is nothing new, but it's ancient information and practices that are really getting a resurgence in today's world. Edgar Cayce also said that the Spring Song and the Blue Danube are songs that through their vibrations will set one's vibration towards normalcy, both mentally and physically, just by hearing those songs. There's also a song that he referenced quite a few times, and that's Pachelbel's Canon. And he said that that song literally went through and balanced every one of the body's energy centers. So all the chakras, from the root chakra up to the crown, would be balanced by listening to that song. And there are many meditations out there that today have incorporated Bell's canon into their, guided meditation or their visualization techniques in order to help do that. But other things that Cayce brought to the forefront, again, during his time in, Bible Belt America, was how powerful chants were and the human voice and toning or vocal toning. So he said that Om has ever been that which raises the self to its highest influences and vibrations. You become close in presence to thy maker simply by chanting that sound. And that sound has been chanted in Eastern traditions, yoga, and the Hindu philosophy for tens of thousands of years. And here he is bringing forth that vibration, that sound, as a way to help heal you, to bring balance and alignment to your body, mind, and soul. But one of the ones that is very unique to the Cayce material is the chanting of R.E. Om. And it's not three or four separate sounds like I just did it. It's actually one long continuous sound that he says balances and aligns all the centers of the body. And the way, maybe I'll just stop the screen share for a minute here with this A.R.E. Om, is the way he described that you would do this, because he said the chanting of A.R.E. Om was a vibration and an energy that could literally balance the entire energetic body, every center, from the root center all up to the crown chakra. So the 7 energy centers of the body. He said that the A.R.E. Om would balance and bring into alignment. And so it would bring healing to that. And the way you can help to heal and reattune yourself by chanting that is when you chant it, when you start going, you're feeling it in the lower part of the body. So you're feeling it in like the lower chakras, the root chakra, the solar plexus, or the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus. So you're going R, and then E, and when you're at E, you're at like the heart, and you should be feeling this vibration at the heart, and then Om. So you're literally moving the vibration up your body through all 7 centers when you're chanting it. So R.E. Om, right up to the top of the head and the crown. And to get a really good vibration in the, the third eye and the crown chakra is to extend out the M sound so that like you're humming and you get a good vibration in the skull. So it would be R.E. Om. And you just do that a couple of times. And he often referenced that as a wonderful way to start and begin meditations. So his ways to start his meditations, which we spoke about meditation, how it's attuning the mental and the physical to the spiritual source. He gave you physical exercises and energies through breathing exercises and vocal toning as a way to really get yourself healed, aligned, and balanced. He would actually say you would start with like a neck exercise in which you would put your head forward 3 times, then back 3 times, then sort of tilted towards each shoulder 3 times, and then rotate the head 3 times, and then go into the alternate nostril breathing, and then do the A.R.E. Om before you then set the intention to connect with your highest ideal, connect with God, and get into that space. So the A.R.E. Om was one that was in quite a few of his readings as a way to bring healing, alignment, and balance through the vibrations of those sounds. And it's not something that he made up, but something he channeled that he said dated all the way back to ancient Egypt. And he said that these chantings were actually done in the pyramids and in the temples of the ancient civilizations of the time. He did say that many of the temples in Egypt were like resonance chambers, were sound chambers in which they were chanting and making sounds and all of that as a way to help bring alignment and balance and restore health and well-being to bodies and minds. So the A.R.E. Om is a very, very well-known chant from the Cayce material. But let me go back to sharing the slides again. And so he also referenced affirmations, thoughts, mindset, and visualization. And so thoughts to Cayce were also things. Thoughts were very powerful things. And like I said, spirit is life, mind is the builder, and physical the result. But he often referenced that what the mind dwells upon, it becomes. And so you want to be very aware of where your thoughts are at, because the vibrations of thought will begin to manifest itself in the body and in the world around you. So even thoughts could literally begin to throw the body out of balance. Now, many Western medicine doctors, scientists, physicians, they do know this very well, that they know that the mind has an ability to heal itself. They also know that the mind, um, for lack of a better word or phrase, you are your own healer. You, science has proven the power of your thoughts. Science has proven mind over matter by something that is known as the placebo effect. Now, a placebo is a sugar pill. It's no medicine. There's no herbs, no oils, no vitamins in it. It's just a sugar capsule that they give to people. And they'll say to them, this is an experimental drug, but it will really help you with what you got. And on average, like 50% of people will have some sort of healing from a placebo. But sometimes it's like 70, 80, 90% of people have healing from a placebo. And in many studies, the placebo actually does better than the medications they are testing them against. And they can't do anything about this. They know the placebo effect will always show itself. They know that while they try to eliminate it from studies by doing double blinds and all these sort of things, they know that they literally can't. They know that there will always be a certain percentage of people that will heal themselves simply by thinking they're getting medicine. And what happens is, in some studies, things disappear, like tumors disappear from people after they take a placebo. And the doctors are like, well, how could this happen? How can this be? Because all I did was give this person a vial of Tic Tacs and now the tumor disappeared. And they have to write it off as the power of the person's mind, their belief, and their faith. So your thoughts do become a very, very important energy for bringing blessings or curses or health or illness to you and your body and your mind as well. And this is literally the great teaching of all the enlightened beings that have been on this planet. In fact, there are many in the Buddhist texts, there's many stories of the Buddha being referred to as a great physician, and his teaching is being referred to as medicine, because people would find a way out of the dissatisfaction of life, and they found their way into a life of more happiness, peace, and ease. So they called what they got from the Buddha medicine, but he didn't take the title of a healer for himself. But what he always said in numerous ways was exactly what Cayce said. And that's, your thoughts are very important. What we think we become, that what the mind dwells upon is what it begins to create. And what the mind dwells upon is what it begins to see in the world around you. And so thoughts are very, very powerful things. Even in the healings of Jesus or of Christ, if you go back and read the gospel accounts, there's probably, I would say, maybe over a dozen healings that happen in the presence of Jesus. But if you read them, you'll discover that never once does he take any credit for any healing that occurs. Every single time a healing happens in the presence of Christ, right after the so-called miracle, as they would call it, he would tell the person immediately, by your faith, you have been healed. Or he would say to them, as you believe, it has now been done for you. And those very two statements, by your faith, you've been healed, as you believe, it's now been done for you. He literally was telling the people, you're the one that created the miracle. You did this yourself. So keep that in the back of your mind. Thoughts and mindset are very, very important things. In fact, going back to the placebo for a moment, just in case you're unaware of this, do you know it can go both ways? What I mean by that is, if someone says to someone that they're giving a placebo to, hey, this is really great medicine, it's an experimental drug, but it's really helping people with what you got. However, there's a certain percentage of people that these side effects come along with it. There will literally be people who manifest the side effects, even though they also got nothing but a sugar pill. And it's only because of their mind went to maybe, fear or something like, oh my God, what if I'm one of those people who get the side effect? You mean this can happen? And they're dwelling upon it, and they're their mind is ruminating upon it, and they literally manifest that. So just be aware of how important thoughts are. They are energies that are very, very powerful in our lives. But again, Casey said that spirit is the life, mind is the builder, meaning it's the active force, is the creative energy, and physical is the result. It follows that the mind becomes what it dwells upon. Mind is the builder, and that which we think upon may become crimes or miracles, health or disease. So that's exactly saying, through Casey's words, what I was just saying. By the thoughts that we think, by the words that we speak, by all this sort of stuff, we can create health or disease in the body. So we can create the cure through the placebo, or we can create the side effect by thinking, well, maybe that's going to appear in my life. Now, if you desire a strong, healthy body, Casey says, think health and you will bring it. To bring the desired thing or condition into manifestation, it is advisable to visualize or hold to it in prayer. So he's also saying that, visualizing a potential outcome is something you want to do too. He also referenced affirmations, supporting the positive. And there are so many traditions out there that do speak about that. Books have been written on this. So for example, many of you are probably familiar with Norman Vincent Peale and The Power of Positive Thinking, that book that became a huge bestseller and many million times over in sales of copies. And that also is the whole idea of be careful what you're thinking, pay attention to your mind, be mindful of your thoughts, focus on the positive and all those sort of things. It doesn't mean we sort of, try to put on rose-colored glasses and pretend that things aren't, happening around us. There might not be difficulties that we're going through, but it just means that, try to really pay attention to the thoughts that are going on in the mind and what you are thinking. Diet, exercise, and the sun. Also, all vibrations that can help bring healing and alignment to the body. So food is an energy. Food is a vibration, and it's something that we ingest. The sun and light is a vibration. And Casey said that what we eat combined together, is missing something there. It should say what we eat combined together with what we think make what we are. I apologize for that. So it's what we eat and combined together with what we think make what we are. When combined, food energies can become acidic or alkaline. So this was a big thing in the Casey approach to healing and holistic health, is that these energies that we're taking in through food, when they're processed in the body, these energies and these vibrations can make the environment either acidic or alkaline. And he would say that we want food that really makes the body alkaline, and that the combinations of foods was what was most important. So he would recommend not eating meats with starches, just eat starches by themselves. So if you have pasta, don't have a protein with it, just have the pasta by itself. And he said that because the way the body's digestive system works is it works in a way that it initiates a process of breaking down those two things differently. So the bile breaks down starch differently than it breaks down the protein. But when they're mixed together, it's not properly broken down the right way. So eat just starch by itself or eat just protein by itself and don't really mix them. But he also said, some people can take these things too far. And there's people that just do everything alkaline. But he did say in one of the readings that going too far alkaline is actually more harmful for you than being acidic every once in a while. So his whole thing is about moderation. His whole thing is about balance, not going too far in either extreme, which is also very similar to Eastern philosophy and Buddhist philosophy, which is known as the middle way, the balance between the extremes. He also recommended 3 above ground veggies for every 1 below ground vegetable that you ate. So that should be the ratio. So if you eat a potato, you should have 3 above ground vegetables in addition to that below ground vegetable. And I'm curious if anyone sought out the reason why he said that. But the reason why he said that was because it carried more of the vibration and energy of the sun, so light, and it carried more of that energy within it. And so you were actually bringing more of that energy into your body, which would begin to create health and healing and wellness within you. because Casey also said that light is a vibration and that light affects health. And he said sun baths are beneficial to most bodies, and it is the absorption of the ultraviolet rays which gives strength and vitality to the nerves and the muscular forces. And he also went on to say in some of his readings how ultraviolet light was harmful to like bacilli and germs and viruses and all these sort of things that, I guess in today's society is something that is on many people's minds in the forefront. We just went through a pandemic. Well, I think it was during the plague in the 1920s, where they actually put people out in the sun in order to try and kill the germs and the bacteria. And so that was something that the Cayce material does reference, that light itself is actually balancing and helping to restore balance to illnesses and diseases, and can actually destroy viruses and bacteria and germs. And so through the above ground vegetables, you actually got more light into your body. He also referenced, though, specific times of days were better. So don't go out into the sun in the peak of the afternoon, because there were rays of light that were not good for you at that time. It should be like in the morning up till about 11 o'clock, and then from like 4 o'clock on in the evening if you're trying to get sun and do a little bit of sunbathing. And he also referenced, of course, stretching the body, and that walking was the best exercise, and that is because of movement. So you're moving the body and keeping it in top shape, which the exercise and the walking and the stretching of the body is helping to keep those three elements in balance: the body, mind, and soul. So he always referenced, you don't want to be out of balance in any of them. If you're just too caught up on physical, there are people that are like addicted to the gym. They're there all the time, all the time, all the time, but they're not feeding their mental and their spiritual body. He said that would be out of balance. So even if your physical body was in top physical shape, if your mental body or your spiritual body were not also incorporated into that you would be diseased. You would be out of alignment. You would be out of balance. So you want to, of course, exercise, bring well-being to the body, but also then stimulate the mind, through prayer, meditation, reading good books, all those sort of things. And that can also incorporate into the spiritual, the prayer, the meditation, and spiritual books. So care of the body was also a very important aspect of the Cayce material. He said that actually each cell is a miniature of the universe, and each cell has both a positive and a negative force, and that force applies to the balance and the alignment of the material, the mental, and the spiritual aspects of the body. So of course you do want to keep your body in full alignment and balance, but you don't want to take it to the effect that you're leaving the mental body and the spiritual body, on the back burner. He also, of course, brings in so much about nature, colors, gems, crystals, and even incense, that these are all vibrations. These are all energies, all things that carry energies and vibrations that can bring healing and alignment and balance to the body. He said that in nature, the spirit of creation is emanating, and that one should attune oneself towards these emanations. So he often recommended being out in nature, taking walks in nature. It's often said that the person close to nature is close to God. And that's because, according to the Cayce idea and teachings, when you're out in nature, you are literally in the spirit of creation itself. So just being out in nature can be an energetic change and bring energetic alignment to the body, mind, and soul. He also spoke about the vibrations of numbers, of metals, of stones, and colors, and how they can become necessary in bringing the necessary influences to make the aligned and attuned to the creative forces. So I have some examples there. But bloodstone, which is is a gemstone, he said brings greater harmony to bodies and less tendency towards anger. The most referenced stone in any of the Cayce material is lapis lazuli, a blue stone that he says has been used by many civilizations, ancient Egyptians, and many others. But that has been considered a very, very healing stone in many societies. But he referenced quite a few gems that are out there. Amethyst was another one that he referenced a lot. Moonstone, pearls, But that's, some people resonate with certain stones better than others. So he said that for some people, pearls can become an irritation, can actually create sort of anxiety in them. And that's because you got to think about what a pearl is. It's this element, this encasement, this enamel that's formed around an irritant in the oyster. So maybe a little piece of sand or silica or glass gets in the oyster, and then what it does to heal that irritation is it creates that pearl around it. So there are so many ways that he would say bring alignment. Numbers, he spoke about numbers, and that certain numbers can be very beneficial. Numerology was a big thing for him. He also said that people's names also gave reference to their sort of energetic vibration, that names were very important things. And going on to color itself is a vibration. So we know that. I mean, think of the light spectrum. If you put a prism up to a window on a very sunny day, you see the rainbow that shoots onto the floor or the ceiling. And that rainbow is the breakup of light into its vibrational wavelengths of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And those wavelengths, those frequencies with red being the longest wavelength and violet or purple being the shortest wavelength, they're just different energies and frequencies and vibrations that are carried within the light. And he said that each body, each soul entity vibrates better to this or that color. And he would often recommend in his readings that people wear a specific color, that it would be more beneficial to keeping them aligned and healthy. So maybe they needed to wear red, or maybe they needed green or purple or blue. But very often he would reference in the readings for people to wear certain colors to stay in better alignment and bring healing and wellness to their body and mind. So the colors of clothing, color therapy was a very big thing, and even painting walls. So he said that green and blue, or blue, not together, but either green or blue, those shades of green or blue would be the best colors for health room walls. So hospitals, doctors' offices, they should be painted in those colors. Incense was another thing that Cayce referenced a lot in regards to cleansing and raising the vibrations of a room, body, or a surrounding. He said that frankincense was the highest vibrational incense, and that it was very purifying, and that it would cleanse rooms. You could cleanse your body, you could cleanse objects, you can clear an environment through frankincense. And he often recommended that if you resonate with it, light incense before you meditate, as a way to help bring cleansing and purification to your body and mind, and allow for greater connection and to spirit, and bring the body, mind, and soul into greater unity and oneness. And so these are all ways that we can utilize energies, the energies of crystals, the energies of incense, the color energy, being out in the energies of nature, meditation, prayer, sound, voice, chanting. All of these things, watching your thoughts, are all ways we can initiate health and healing through using vibration and energy. And I think that's and by understanding energy, frequency, and vibration. Now, those are three words that maybe I should just explain a bit. But energy is this term that science refers to as like everything in the universe. And as I said, it might just be a modernized term for spirit, is that which everything is made from. But frequency and vibration, those are the two I really want to sort of distinguish, because people are like, well, sometimes they use them interchangeably. But vibration just means something is moving. That's all it means. Just something is moving. In fact, in the Cayce readings, he says that vibration is spirit in motion. So vibrations just means something is moving, but a frequency is the specific speed or rate at which something is moving. And so, if you think of like a sound wave, they're measured in hertz, which a lot of energy is. Even brain waves are measured in hertz. Well, if something is moving at 100 hertz compared to 500 hertz, that's the speed in which it's moving. And all that means is, to get a little bit, scientific on you, 100 hertz just means that there's 100 wavelengths that pass a point in 1 second. 500 hertz means 500 wavelengths pass a point in 1 second. So it has to do with the measurement of wavelengths. But and that's the frequency. So that's the speed at which something is moving or how many wavelengths is passing. But by understanding vibrations, frequencies, and energies, we can really understand how we can come to know and heal ourselves. We can learn how to heal the bodies. We can learn to understand how the universe works. Remember, Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand this universe, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And so if you want to bring the body into greater alignment and healing, you need to match that frequency of the healing or the health that you're trying to bring yourself into. If you want to attune to spirit, attune yourself into the universe or God, it's like tuning the dial of your radio to tune into that. In fact, I have a little quote from the Cayce teachings in which he says, whatever vibrates at the same vibration will show the same thing. So if you want to, tune into God, you got to raise your vibration, tune your dial. You can think of us all as radios, right around you, wherever you are right now. There's an infinite number of energy around you. If you take a radio and you tune it to station 100, you'll pick up, so maybe a song. Tune it to 103.7, maybe you get a country song. Tune it to 97.6, maybe you get talk radio. And all of those energies are around you right now. You're immersed in those energies. And the spiritual energy is also around you right now. And you are like a radio antenna, and you could tune yourself into any of those energies and pick them up by simply raising your vibration or doing practices, spiritual practices to attune you to tune you into a certain vibrational rate that you want to connect to, and bring healing, health, spiritual awareness to your body and your mind. And so those are just some of the things and ways and practices that you can engage in order to heal yourself through vibrations and frequencies. Now, another thing that you should be aware of is that many traditions say that our body has these centers that are associated with it. I referenced them a little while ago, but they're often called energy centers or chakras that run from the base of the spine to the crown of the head in the colors of the rainbow. And I referenced that when Edgar Cayce said we do the A.R.E. Om chant, we feel the vibration moving up through every one of the chakras, that it would bring alignment and balance to those centers. Well, many traditions say that those centers is also, or an imbalance in those centers, is also an indication of why we get disease or illness in the body, that they become out of tune. And all of these practices and techniques that I went through and shared with you from the Cayce material are ways to keep those energy centers in alignment and balance. In fact, I even said that Pachelbel's canon, he said, was composed in such a way that every energy center of the body would become attuned and balanced by listening to that. But the alternate nostril breathing helps to balance those. The meditation helps to balance the energies of the chakras. And there's many ways that they get thrown out of balance. Thoughts can throw the chakras out of balance. Being out in certain environments could throw the energy centers out of balance, because we become entrained by the energy that we're in. So, I mean, have any of you ever gone into a space and you go, oh, I don't like the vibes in here, let me get out of here? Well, if you did, you were attuning and feeling the energy of the space and the environment around you. And if you stayed there long enough, you would begin to become entrained by that and throw your energetic body out of alignment and balance. But words can throw your energetic body out of balance. So we have a throat chakra, and unkind words, angry speech, hurtful words, all those sort of things can throw the throat chakra out of balance. So we need to try to keep this body and the energy centers of it aligned and in tune. And I mentioned also that today sound meditations have become very popular ways of bringing alignment and balance to the body. And that's because sound waves have the ability to literally heal and cure and correct illness and disease. In fact, every single day around this world, doctors, scientists, medical students, and even nurses and medical technicians, they use a device in hospitals that the only reason why they build these machines is to generate sound waves. And those devices are known as ultrasound machines. Now, an ultrasound machine is nothing more than a probe, or they have pads that they lay on people, ultrasound pads, with a wire attached to the computer. And these pads or these probes send out ultrasound sound waves, which is a form of an energy, which is a vibration, but ultrasound is a very high vibrational rate, which is beyond the range of human hearing. Humans only have a small range of hearing, about 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Anything above 20,000 hertz is considered ultrasound. And so these ultrasound pads and probes, they can literally use them to heal illnesses and diseases in the body. And some of the ones I'm specifically referencing are gallstones and kidney stones. So if someone has a stone in their gallbladder, one way they will try to heal the person of that illness is they take the ultrasound machine, put it over their gallbladder, and begin to bombard them with high frequency ultrasound sound waves, because they know these energies will pass through the body. And as these energies pass through the body, if they find the right frequency, it hits the stone, and then the stone shakes up. And if they find the right frequency, it crumbles, it pulverizes, it breaks apart into sand. And then the residue can pass through the gall ducts and the bladder without any surgical intervention at all. It's energy affecting energy. And it's energy and frequencies and vibrations that are helping to heal the body of that illness and that disease. And I really want you to think about for a moment what, they're really telling a person when they got a stone stuck in their body. Albert Einstein said the entire world that we see around us is not true reality. That the true reality is that this universe is nothing but energy. So all matter is energy. And Edgar Cayce in his teaching said the exact same thing, that everything is vibration, everything is an energetic vibration, everything is an atomic force giving off a vibration. And so that means that the little piece of matter, the little stone that's stuck in the gallbladder, that's in reality not matter at all. It's a stuck energy, because all matter is energy. So the little stone is literally a stuck energy in the organ. And they're taking another form of energy, the ultrasound sound wave, passing it through the body to push out the energy that's stuck there. And that's why sound meditations have become what I feel is quite, there's a lot of people coming to sound meditations today. And that's because these sound waves are passing through the body, pushing out stuck, stagnant energy that might be held in the organ systems, and not only the organ systems, but the chakras of the body, pushing out emotions or stuck, stagnant energies that are held in these centers of the body, bringing the body into alignment and balance. But the other thing that sound energy and vibrations can do is entrain or shift brain waves, which bring alignment and balance to the body, mind, and soul. Typically, we're in beta most of the time. And beta is like your conscious mind, word mind, analytical mind. But when we meditate, when we do yoga, when we do prayer and other spiritual practices, we begin to shift out of the beta and move into a brainwave state known as alpha, which is more relaxed and calm. And if we're very relaxed, we can get into an even deeper state known as theta. And theta is a very deep, rejuvenative brainwave state. Master meditators who can get into theta, they begin to not need as much sleep as they once did, because they're literally rejuvenating and refreshing themselves in the theta brainwave activity. Well, what a study out of a university in Canada has shown us is that people who practice like formal meditation, like when I say formal, I mean like mindfulness, watching the breath, or chanting a mantra, they begin to shift out of their beta and into the alpha state on average in the group. And this was a group of non-meditators, on average in about 22 minutes. And that's why many meditation teachers will say you should meditate for about 20 to 30 minutes a day. But when they took them to a sound bath, the same group of people a week later who were non-meditators, and they had the electrodes hooked up to their brain, what they discovered was the addition of these sound wave energies, these frequencies, these vibrations, literally began to shift or entrain the brain waves of the meditators out of the beta and into the alpha state in the group on average in 12 minutes. That's nearly half the amount of time, simply by the addition of incorporating vibrations and frequencies into their environment or their world or their life. And so vibrations are very powerful ways. Energies are very powerful ways to bring health, healing, wellness, and well-being to the body, mind, and soul. And as I said, if you go through the Cayce material, nearly 70% of his readings were on health and physical well-being, and the diagnosis or the curing of physical ailments. And very often it was through vibrations and frequencies of utilizing things like chanting or the food you ate or color or sound in order to restore that and restore your body to health, wellness, and even bring you closer to God's spirit universe. So I know we're just about out of time, but I thank you all for your time and attention this evening. But I would love to open it up to see if there are any questions from any of you that are out there in regards to anything that we went over tonight.
Anthony, thank you so much. That is tremendous amount of information in such a short period of time.
This is a
And
topic that we could talk about for hours. I tried to cram and get as much in as I can, but I mean, there's so much we could have expanded on so many of these topics in and of themselves.
well, we will, and we'll do that definitely at a later date. But I just want to let all the viewers know, first off, thank you so much for joining us tonight. At the bottom of your screen, there is a little, if you hover your cursor at the bottom, it's a little Q&A icon. Just type your questions in there. I see a few have already come through. I'm happy to share those with Anthony. And a few actually came in ahead of time when people were registering for this. So I think a lot of people were really excited about this program. And once again, it was fabulous. So I want to make sure we have time for this. The first question is, does the person receiving the energy have to believe in order for it to work?
Wow, that's a phenomenal question. That's an
It's good.
excellent question. There are many different ideas to this. There are some that say no, but it's better if they are receptive, open, and knowing that energy is being shared with them. But if you're attending a sound bath or something like that, or if you're doing distance healing or any of those things, there are some that would say that if the person, like if you're doing distance healing, if the person knows that you're sending energy and healing and prayers and things their way, if you tell them, go sit down in your chair or on your bed at 2 p.m., I'm going to send you some healing energy, that would be better. There are some that also say that, that's not necessary. However, I would reference the teachings of Jesus himself. And the interesting thing about the teachings of Jesus and the stories of Jesus is that he couldn't do any miracles in Nazareth. He couldn't do any at all. And he referenced it to being the lack of faith or belief in the people of that town, because they just thought of him as the son of Mary and Joseph. Where these other towns that he would travel to far away, they heard, oh my God, a great healer's coming, he's doing miracles, that they had the belief and the receptivity for a greater chance in the miracle to happen. So I sort of am of the persuasion that yes, it's better if the person believes that they can benefit from it, like the placebo. If you believe the pill can do something for you, and it's nothing but sugar, it will do it because you're believing it. But if you don't believe it, you're sort of standing in your own way. So I do believe that it is quite beneficial for the person to really believe in the modalities and know maybe that energy is being sent to them for that reason.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's like you're shifting the mindset to
Yes.
really receive that information. The next question here, would you mind addressing chronic pain and PTSD? Those are probably topics in and of themselves.
They are topics in and of themselves, and there's many different things. I'm not exactly sure exactly what they might be looking for me to talk about in terms of this, because there are many different ways that PTSD and chronic pain, chronic fatigue syndrome, and all these sort of things it's not a broad brushing. These are individual cases in which the person with PTSD, chronic pain, all of that, you need to know, what is going on with them. Why some people have PTSD because of, being in the military. Some people have PTSD because of some experience or anxiety that happened from trauma in their personal life. And sometimes with those two cases, even though they both have PTSD, they need to be treated very differently, depending on what the situation is. So, sometimes a person with PTSD from the military, you could teach them breath awareness and they're okay with that. to help them try to get through it and heal it and work with what's going on. But sometimes if you have someone who's dealing with PTSD due to trauma from maybe um you know it could be some sexual sort of trauma, a breath awareness technique might not be helpful for them because it keeps them embodied. And that's the last thing they want to feel is what happened in their body or be connected to the body, because that was where the trauma happened. So somebody with that type of PTSD, we need to help manage and heal in a different sort of way. So if the person who asked that question could really maybe elaborate on a little bit more what they're trying to get out of me speaking about these things, I'd be happy to answer it.
Absolutely. Several of you are asking to get copies of the slides, copies of the recording. Please keep in mind that tomorrow you will be receiving an email. It's a thank you email. And with that, you will get the link to this recording. So you can review that over and over. There's a lot of amazing information in here. You can stop it, you can start it over, and you can continue to revisit this program. So don't feel like you had to take copious notes tonight. You do get that every time with a Wednesday night webinar. I'm scrolling through here, and this is an interesting question. There's a gentleman here saying that he's been meditating for about 1.5 years. He's experiencing vibration sacrum every single morning. What does this mean? It keeps getting stronger and lasting longer.
Yeah. This could be an indication of an awakening of an energy that's down at the base of the spine, known as Kundalini energy. And if you have been practicing dedicated for quite some time in your meditation practice, that energy can begin to awaken. And it can awaken, and the experiences of it can be felt in many different ways. Even Cayce, in many of his work, references the awakening of this energy, which, again, being in Bible Belt, Kentucky, Gladys, who is the transcriber of all his readings, many times didn't even know how to spell these words that are coming out of him when he's talking about Kundalini and chakras. And she spelt it like with the Kunda, Line, rather than an I, and all of that, because they're so foreign to people in Kentucky at the time. But Kundalini energy is believed to be a spiritual energy that resides down at the base of the spine in the sacrum area. And through spiritual practice or other ways, it could spontaneously awaken on its own. It can awaken through drugs. There's certain things that can actually get the Kundalini to start arising. But because you're meditating so much for so long, that energy is being stimulated. And now it's awakening. And what's happening now is you're feeling that, and it's growing stronger. Now, why you're continuing to possibly feel it only in that area is it could mean you have work to do in the other chakras that are above that, where there might be a blockage in the sacral or the solar plexus. And so the energy can't begin to arise much higher. It's only stimulating and stirring to where it can go through. So I would maybe look into working with the other energy centers of the body, like the solar plexus and the sacral, which is right there as well, and see if maybe visualizing those colors, doing certain mantras that can help, work with that. And also, is the pressure or the sensation, is it feeling like there's a pressure in that area? Because if there's a feeling like there's a pressure in that area, it could indicate to you that there is some sort of blockage or a misalignment, or the center's out of tune and just needs to be worked with. But that's a good sign. Please don't take this as anything bad. It's a literally good sign that you are feeling energy in your sacrum and that is growing.
That's fantastic. You really have definitely struck a chord with many people here tonight, Anthony. Got a lot of great questions coming in, and I'm trying to theme them together for time's sake.
Sure.
But we're looking through here. We actually have a family physician here that is on here who has been practicing for many years and is just really taken, with what you're sharing here, and agrees that we must bring back ancient wisdom to medicine, is what they're actually teaching. Quick question that they have at the end: what is your number one recommendation in a brief patient interaction? That's a tough one.
That might be the hardest question tonight, because again, this is looking at a one-on-one basis. So it depends on what's going on with that patient. I would probably say just, some sort of maybe sound therapy, being in the room when you're talking or working with the patient, can actually just bring, or even as Casey said, painting, making sure the walls are painted a certain color, so that when they come in to have, for their appointment or something, they're literally being healed or helped through the vibration of the green or blue that he said were very healing colors for any sort of medical institution or walls within a hospital or a doctor's office. So making sure the environment is right might be one of the best things that you can do in a brief interaction, because if it's brief, you're not going to have the time to maybe, sit with them and do some meditation for 20 minutes or some chanting or anything like that. But definitely, having the colors and that are necessary in the room are good. And then, you could also have music. Like I said, Casey said that the Pochbel's canon was totally balancing to the entire energetic body. So why not have that playing just, softly in the background at the same time? They
Nice
could,
with that thing.
that could even be happening while they're waiting for you to come into the office to talk with them. But also, if you have a brief interaction, try to find out where the person's mindset is. I have a friend who's a surgeon, a heart surgeon, and he does transplants. And he literally, before he'll even put them on a list for an organ, he sits with them to understand where their mindset is, because he knows that mindset is so important to the healing and the taking of the organ. And so rather than it being some chance thing where they don't think that they can maybe, handle it, or they have a lot of doubt that it might work, he makes sure they're in the right frame of mind for these things. And
Yeah.
if not, he works with them to get them there.
We have time for maybe 2 questions here. Thank you for all of you who are still staying with us. Do you feel comfortable giving any kind of recommendations for maybe people are asking about best music or energy for particular health conditions? One is mentioning here specifically blood clots. Is there any correlation between certain music or energies to assist or aid in specific areas?
Not that I know of specifically for blood clots, although a friend of mine who's one of my doctor that I was in school with, he just sent me 2 days ago a journal article where they're using sound to break up blood clots in people with clots. They're actually using these little ultrasound, like how they put like cameras through like the systems in the organ. They're using little like ultrasound machines to literally break up blood clots. I don't know what the frequency of it was, but for blood clots particularly, no. But the Cayce material references that for anxiety, for mental imbalances, for depression, stringed instruments, anything with stringed instruments was very valuable, very powerful for the alleviating out of the, the depression, the anxiety, and the mental imbalances. He literally said that stringed instruments will reset the nervous system. He also said that I mentioned a couple of times about the Pochbel's canon. So I know that that specific piece of music, he said, was balancing to the entire energetic body, which if that system is aligned and balanced, will bring well-being to your physical body and your mental body. He also said that the Spring Song and the Blue Danube were very beneficial in bringing the physical and the mental aspects of oneself to greater normalcy. So those are some specific types of music. There are frequencies out there like 432, 528 that a lot of different communities really say are wonderful notes and sounds to play. But if you were specifically curious about blood clots, I'm sorry, I don't have anything specific for that one.
Sure. And we're going to end with this question tonight. What do you think of red light therapy?
I think color therapy in and of itself is great, but here's the problem with just one light. What if the person doesn't need that? So, red light therapy could be good in many cases. It is good, but there's also many other colors and therapy that are needed as well. So there are these beds that actually use color therapy. It rotates from the red and the orange and the yellow and the green and the blue and the purple. So it gives the body all those vibrations. But Edgar Cayce said in and of itself that just going out in the sun carries every vibration you need. So why just, unless you know specifically that there's one frequency that you just need that red light energy, or you just need that purple energy, fine. But being out in the sun itself carries all the light that's beneficial to the body. The sunlight is life. It grows our plants, it grows our food, it grows all those
Mhm.
things. And that's also why he encouraged eating above ground vegetables compared to below ground vegetables, eating more of them because they carry the vibrations and all the frequencies of sunlight that's needed for your body. So I'm a fan of any therapy that's helpful, but sometimes we can, like Edgar Cayce was saying, we can go too far in an extreme and we eliminate the others. So we're just focused on one aspect and we're missing all the other little things that are needed to go along with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And for any of you who come to campus in Virginia Beach, we have what you're mentioning about that special bed or lounge. It's called the Alpha Sphere where we are, and it vibrates and it has a different color therapy, and it's just fantastic. I mean, just very soothing, very healing, very comparable to the feeling you get after a massage, even.
Yeah.
It's really nice. We have so many questions that are flooding in here, and I think we would be here for another solid hour. But I want
I'm
to know,
sorry. I wish I
why are you sorry? This is wonderful.
I'd
And
love to
thank
get
you
to
all.
I would love to get to everybody's question.
I
I don't want
know.
anybody to feel,
I know. And what
left
I'm
out.
wondering is that would you mind sharing how anyone could get in touch with you if they do have further questions or would like to chat with you further about this particular topic?
Absolutely. I would be happy to answer anybody's question, or if I can. I don't have every answer. I'll try to look into it if I don't know the
Sure.
answer, but I'd be happy to, communicate with anybody that does want to reach out to me. I could be found on social media, either Instagram or Facebook at Anthony Profeta Meditation, or I could be found at my website, which is just anthonyprofeta.com. And you can connect with me through there as well, through my contact page, and send me an email. And I promise you, I will get back to you. It might not be, immediately right after the email is sent, but I will. And please cut me a little slack because I leave a week from Sunday to go over to India and Nepal, and I'll be there till April. So they have sporadic Wi-Fi and internet access. So I might, need a couple of days to get back to you, but I promise you I will.
That is very exciting. Well, I want to thank you so much. And for those of you that we did not get to your questions tonight, I tried to categorize them as best as we can, but definitely reach out to Anthony. We look forward to seeing you another time. And Anthony, thank you so much. This was
Uh,
fantastic. We look forward to seeing you again. And please stay tuned. Visit our website, edgarcayce.org, and you can always type in Anthony Profeta and to see when he's going to be speaking next. So everyone have a great night. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Good
Thank you, everybody.
night.
Thank you, Kara. Bye-bye.
Bye.